A group of Auckland flatmates have been terrorised by paranormal activity in their house ever since they moved in. And in recent weeks it's got so bad they're facing some tough decisions. We called in psychic Jane Brebner to help.
It's a lady, an old lady that lived here. It's an older essence that's here.
But this wasn't just some bad-tempered old bat. This appeared to be someone who'd watched a succession of people go through her house in the 20-odd years since her death, and she wasn't going to let anyone else take over her space without a fight. So to prevent things getting even worse, Jane sat the flatmates down and gave them some advice.
An entity will hang around if they think that if they are connected to the past, they remember the past being here, so she will stay here because it's familiar to her. It's a matter of simple respect. If you ask her to leave, always acknowledge you know that they're there. So you would say, hey, I know that you're here and thanks for coming. However, you do make us feel uncomfortable and we'd like you to move on, please. It can be as simple as that.
Armed with that knowledge, they added some of their own touches. After all, this was a great flat, and ultimately, they didn't want to leave. So Courtney learned how to read a recipe. Brendan bought a toaster. And Dan and Steve brought a few Nana touches to the place. Surely all their hard work would send Nana on her journey to the other side. But her reaction was swift and scary.
She's throwing things and turning on taps, and there's more bangs in the walls and things like that. It just becomes very uneasy, especially if you're at home alone and it's night time, and it just makes things more stressful.
It's quite scary at night, just being home by yourself, eh?
The flatmates' shocking revelations could not be ignored, so we at My House, My Castle decided to install a secret camera to see if we could expose this paranormal activity. From our elaborate scientific base, we wanted to see if Jane's analysis was true. Was it the spirit of a feisty, vivacious woman who resented her son selling the house and who'd plagued the previous and current residents with her bad behaviour? Would she give us a sign?
Not all of them are negative. Some of them just like being around, and especially if you've got a family, they love to watch the children or see the interaction with the family, and they like being a part of the family without interfering with it. And many people that I speak to have said to me, well, actually we quite like them. They do funny things. They play tricks on us. They'll remove a picture off a wall and then they'll put it back, and we just have a giggle. Or different things can happen in the house where we know it's somebody there, but we don't mind.
Well, it looks like any other domestic scene from here, but the flatmates are adamant someone's interfering in their lives. And it does seem that everything we've discovered about our feisty widow stacks up with their experience.
She was harmless in the beginning. She was really lovely. She had a good energy about her, and I never had an issue, but since certain things, it's become more and more tiring to be there, and I don't think she wants to leave. I think she's just got some connection to the house.
You'll always get the skeptics, and skepticism is good, it's healthy. There are some things though that cannot be explained, and I guess in the end they're either going to believe you or not, especially with the things that cannot be explained in everyday life. So I would say to people, keep an open mind. To say no, there's nothing and you're loopy is too easy. And I've seen so much evidence of things year after year now that I know for sure that certainly spirit is around.
We went in with a healthy dose of scepticism too. Heck, we even called in the psychic, hooked up the hidden camera and shouted drinks at the pub, all to establish whether or not the flatmates were being hassled by a troubled spirit. So moving the spirit on hadn't worked, and the flatmates were running out of options and patience.
And I'm almost ready to just move back to my parents. It seems like the easiest option.
I'm thinking of going overseas anyway, so maybe now's a good time.
The rest of the guys are going to go. It's not going to leave me much choice.
So was it another victory for our spirit? Several months later, we returned to the House of Horrors to find out. Courtney and Steve fled overseas. Brendan has moved back with his mum. Dan is working long hours in an unidentified location to pay off his student loan. They've all been deeply affected by their experience. None of them will ever return to the house, which is currently empty, except for the troubled spirit who continues to haunt it.
And we can only assume that the dark forces that drove them out now await some new victims.